In 1870, a volcanic eruption occurred at Yellowstone National Park. This event was so significant that it's been recorded in history as the largest eruption in the world. But what if I told you there have been many more eruptions since then? Even recently there has been some activity. Well, if you want to know more about it, stay tuned until the end of the video because today we will be talking about minor eruptions that have occurred at Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone is one of the most beautiful places in America. The park covers an area of over 2.2 million acres and is home to more than 10,000 species of plants and animals. It also has a rich history. From Native American tribes to pioneers and homesteaders to early tourists, people have been coming to Yellowstone for centuries. The park was officially established in 1872 and is now one of the most visited places in the United States. But what many people don't realize is that Yellowstone is also a supervolcano. A supervolcano is a volcano that has had an extremely large eruption, which is defined as one that has a volcanic explosivity index or VEI rating of 8. The largest known supereruption ever happened at Yellowstone in 640,000 BC with an estimated VEI of 8. That means that Yellowstone is capable of producing some of the most powerful eruptions in the history of the planet. And even though it may seem like a far-off possibility, it is something that experts are constantly keeping an eye on. A new research study published in the Bulletin of Volcanology suggests that beneath the calm surface of Yellowstone's recent history, the magma chamber beneath the caldera has been quite restless. Researchers used data from the Yellowstone seismic network, which has been recording earthquakes in the area since the 1980s, to track changes in the magma chamber. They found that between 1985 and 2020, there were more than 1,500 small earthquakes that occurred within a few miles of the park's famous geysers. While this may not sound like a lot, it's actually pretty significant. Earthquakes at Yellowstone are rare. There's only been about one earthquake per square mile in the last 35 years. So the fact that there were this many earthquakes clustered together is worth paying attention to. Plus, these earthquakes didn't happen all at once. Instead, they were evenly distributed over the course of the study period. This suggests that there may be some sort of cyclical pattern to the seismic activity in this area. Another interesting thing about these earthquakes is that they were mostly very shallow, occurring at depths of less than 2 miles. Shallow earthquakes are often caused by the movement of magma through the crust. So it's possible that we're seeing the effects of magma rising from deep within the Earth's mantle. This isn't anything to be too worried about just yet. Yellowstone hasn't shown any signs of an imminent eruption, and scientists are confident that there's no danger of a super eruption anytime soon. But it does paint an interesting picture of the complex inner workings of our planet and reminds us that even seemingly dormant volcanoes can be quite active. Now let's talk about a smaller but still pretty impressive eruption that happened at Yellowstone in the late 19th century. In 1870, there was a series of explosive eruptions at Yellowstone's Upper Geyser Basin. This event was much smaller than the super eruption of 640,000 BC, but it was still pretty significant. Ash and cinders fell over a large area, and steam and gases were released into the atmosphere. Fortunately, there were no casualties, but it was a dramatic reminder of the power of nature. In fact, it wasn't even the only eruption in the 1800s. There was another one in 1885 and a minor lava flow in 1985 as well. These events may not have been as destructive as the 1870 eruption, but they're still important examples of how Yellowstone continues to be an active volcano. But why exactly do these eruptions happen? Like we mentioned earlier, Yellowstone is a supervolcano. That means that it has the potential to produce massive, incredibly powerful eruptions. However, it's important to remember that not all eruptions at Yellowstone are created equal. There are actually 3 different types of eruptions that can occur at Yellowstone. The first type is called a phreatic eruption. Phreatic eruptions are steam explosions that occur when water comes into contact with hot magma. This type of eruption is relatively small and usually doesn't involve the release of lava. Instead, the explosion causes steam, ash, and gases to be released into the air. Phreatic eruptions are the most common type of eruption at Yellowstone. The second type of eruption at Yellowstone is a lava flow. Lava flows involve the release of molten rock, also known as lava, onto the surface of the Earth. This type of eruption is typically more slow-moving and less explosive than a phreatic eruption. Lava flows can travel long distances and cover large areas. Finally, the third type of eruption at Yellowstone is a Plinian eruption. Plinian eruptions are some of the most violent and destructive eruptions that can occur. They are characterized by a tall, narrow column of ash and gas that is blown high into the atmosphere. These eruptions can cause massive devastation both locally and on a global scale. Thankfully, the last Plinian eruption at Yellowstone occurred hundreds of thousands of years ago, and while there is always the potential for this type of eruption to occur again, scientists believe that it is highly unlikely. So now that we've covered the basics, let's take a closer look at the 1870 eruption. The 1870 eruption at Yellowstone was a phreatic eruption that occurred in the Upper Geyser Basin. This area is home to some of Yellowstone's most famous geysers, including Old Faithful. The eruption was caused by the sudden release of pressure in the magma chamber below the surface of the Earth. This allowed steam and gases to expand rapidly, resulting in a series of explosions. While the exact cause of the pressure release is unknown, it's believed that it may have been triggered by the movement of tectonic plates. The first sign of trouble was an increase in the frequency and intensity of earthquakes in the area. This was followed by a buildup of steam and gas emissions from the geysers. On June, the pressure finally released and a series of explosions rocked the Upper Geyser Basin. The first explosion was the most powerful, reaching an estimated 130 decibels. This was equivalent to the sound produced by a jet engine taking off. For days, steam and cinders were thrown high into the air and could be seen from miles away. The explosions continued for weeks, each one producing a mushroom cloud of steam and ash. By the time the eruption was over, a total of 8 explosions had occurred. Fortunately, there were no casualties. The park was only open to a few dozen visitors at the time, and they were able to escape unharmed. The eruption did, however, have a significant impact on the landscape. The explosions destroyed several geysers and hot springs and left behind a vast field of ash and cinders. Some of the geysers were able to recover in the following years, but others were permanently damaged. The eruption was a stark reminder of the raw, natural power that exists in our world. It was also an early warning sign of the potential danger that exists at Yellowstone. While the 1870 eruption was relatively small compared to other eruptions in Yellowstone's history, it was a wake-up call for scientists and park officials. They began to closely monitor the seismic activity in the area in order to try and predict future eruptions. In the years that followed, several other small eruptions and lava flows occurred at Yellowstone. But thanks to the work of scientists, no major eruptions have occurred since 1870. Today, Yellowstone National Park is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the United States. Each year, millions of people come to marvel at its stunning beauty. But they should also remember that they are entering a place of raw, natural power. At any moment, the ground beneath their feet could rumble and shake as another eruption occurs. Thanks to advances in technology and our understanding of volcanoes, we are able to predict eruptions more accurately than ever before. And in the event of a major eruption, we would be able to evacuate the area quickly. But no matter what, it's important to remember that Yellowstone is a force to be reckoned with. And even the smallest eruption is a reminder of the incredible power that lies within the Earth. Hey there, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on any of our exciting content.